Were there any Americans stationed near where you lived towards the end of the war?
Yes, there were. I always thought they looked extra smart, but then so did everybody else. And again, being a little girl, they were nice. My grandmother lived in West Street, not far away, but at the top of the hill near Lenham. And you know the pretend airfields they had,
yes, to
avoid the bombing on the real airfields? Well, behind her was the pretend airfield that was the protection for Detling Aerodrome, because that wasn't far away in Maidstone. And at night all the lights would shine up on the fields, and so Granny had to have a shelter built down in the garden. And she went down there because everyone said she should some nights. Anyway, she one night it was filled with water. We'd had a lot of rain and it had got about a foot of water. "I'm not going down there," she said. "I'll die of pneumonia. I'm staying in my own bed." Well, that night they attacked that field very badly, and the vibration was so much the shelter collapsed. So it really was a good job she'd had her airs, as she would say, and refused to go, because she would have been buried alive in the shelter. And there must have been cases like that in the country where, you know, it did happen, because they weren't very well built. We also had in one of our houses an Anderson shelter, which was a huge, like a billiard table, but made out of metal. And we ate on it, we had it in the kitchen, took up most of the kitchen, but nevertheless, that was where we ate. One night we heard a doodlebug come over and it stopped. And at that point you knew you were possibly in line for attack. So my father said, "Get under the table." So I remember us diving under the table. It was already made up as a bed because on occasions we would sleep there. And I remember my father coming under the table but leaving his legs out. And I remember screaming to him, "Daddy, Daddy, put your legs in, your legs will get squashed." Because every bomb that was coming was going to get me. The Germans were headed for me, you see. And in the end he said, "No, no, no, listen." And we heard a mighty explosion that shook the house. When eventually we went out and he went and explored, he went about 100 yards away down into the orchard. And at the bottom of the orchard was a chalk pit, which Kent has many of. And the doodlebug had landed right in the middle of the chalk pit and therefore saved a lot more damage than it might have done. But best of all, in the field next door to them were a group of gypsies in their caravans. They must have been really scared, because the vibration was bad at the house, and in the field next door it must have been horrendous.
After the war, when things like bananas and oranges became available, were there anything, treats that we discovered for the first time?
Well, I had measles one of those summers, and the doctor came out to see me and said I could have some ice cream because it would be good for my throat. So my mother got on the bus, went into Faversham, which was a 20-minute, half-an-hour journey, went to the chemist with a prescription, got this ice cream made up, caught the next bus home, another half-an-hour journey, and came and gave it to me. There was this sloppy, runny sort of thing, and I thought, well, if that's ice cream. So when I had the first proper ice cream, oh, Lion's ice cream, it was heaven. And the other thing I remember is that when sweet rationing stopped, my mother took me into the sweet shop in town, and I thought she'd gone mad. She had packet after packet of all these things I had never seen or wanted, because it didn't mean anything to me. I'd grown up without them. It didn't matter. But yes, she went absolutely mad, and licorice all sorts, and jelly babies and all sorts of things like that that I had never seen before. I mean, I got to like them eventually, but it didn't bother me for a long time. But bananas, can't remember bananas. Oranges I liked, but unfortunately, for some reason, they made me sick. I'd never had an orange until I was about, oh, I don't know, 9 or 10, I suppose. They made me sick. I suppose the acidity. I'd never had anything that acid. But so I wasn't impressed with oranges. I can eat them now, mind you, not then.